When aliens left it behind, humans rebuilt a masterpiece they couldn't resist. HFY Sci-Fi stories. The alien artifact lay abandoned in the middle of the desert, its surface smooth and gleaming like polished obsidian under the relentless sun. To most, it was just another relic, a mystery of the cosmos that the extraterrestrials had carelessly discarded. To humans, however, it was a treasure too valuable to ignore. It had been decades since the first contact with the aliens, known only as the Ventrisi. They arrived, shared their knowledge, and left. The reason for their departure was unknown, but their sudden withdrawal from Earth left behind an array of advanced technologies that humanity could barely begin to understand. The artifact was one of those relics, a strange structure of metal and energy that no one could decipher. Yet its allure was undeniable. When the first humans discovered the artifact, it was an event that shook the world. Scientists, engineers, and dreamers from all corners of the planet gathered to examine it, eager to unlock the secrets of the Ventrisi. But no matter how much they studied, the artifact resisted all efforts to understand it. Its shape defied explanation, and its function was a mystery. It was only after years of study that humanity stumbled upon the key. The artifact wasn't just a piece of technology. It was a blueprint for something far greater. The humans were drawn to it, irresistibly so. Like moths to a flame, they began building around it, adding their own ideas, creating something new yet familiar. The Ventrisi had abandoned the artifact, but humanity, tenacious and determined, could not let it sit idle. The first to attempt the reconstruction were the engineers at Project Helix, a secretive initiative funded by the world's most powerful governments. They brought the best minds from across the globe, an unprecedented coalition of expertise. The blueprint, though alien in origin, resonated with their creativity. The very design of the artifact pushed them to think beyond conventional engineering, to build a structure that surpassed anything previously imagined. What they created was nothing short of breathtaking. At first, it was an enormous, spiraling tower, no ordinary skyscraper. The design included elements of physics that humans had only begun to understand, harnessing energy in ways that seemed to defy the laws of nature. It levitated, shifting its form like liquid metal, its surface changing in response to the environment. As the tower rose, so did the human spirit. The work of construction, the feeling of being part of something greater, spread like wildfire across the globe. People from every nation, every creed, came to witness the unfolding masterpiece. Then, as the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place, something extraordinary happened. The artifact, dormant for so long, came to life. It hummed with energy, its surface glowing with a soft, ethereal light. The hum resonated deep within the hearts of those who were near, a sensation like nothing they had ever felt before. The tower, once a static structure, shifted and moved, revealing intricate mechanisms that linked the human-built sections with the Ventrisi blueprint. It was a fusion of two minds, alien and human, that brought the machine to life. The structure began to glow brighter, as though it were absorbing the very essence of humanity. It wasn't just a building anymore. It was a living entity, a bridge between two civilizations. And that's when they realized it wasn't just a machine, it was a message. The Ventrisi, in their infinite wisdom, had left behind the means to push humanity beyond its limits. The artifact was a challenge, a test to see if humans were ready for the next step, a leap into the stars. The final revelation came when the tower's core opened, revealing a holographic map of the galaxy. It was a map to worlds they had never dreamed of, to civilizations beyond their wildest imagination. And it was clear, the Ventrisi had left it all for humans, to use as they saw fit. The world held its breath as humanity took its first steps toward the stars. No longer bound by the limitations of Earth, no longer reliant on the crumbling infrastructure left behind by the Ventrisi, humans began to forge their own path. The artifact had not been abandoned. After all, it had been left for them to discover, to build upon, to make their own. And they did. They rebuilt it, not as a pale imitation of what the aliens had intended, but as a testament to human ingenuity, perseverance, and ambition. It was a masterpiece they couldn't resist, a creation that transcended anything the Ventrisi had ever imagined. In the end, the aliens had underestimated humanity. They had left behind a gift, a challenge, and a doorway to the stars. But humans, in their relentless drive and untapped potential, had turned that gift into something even greater. They had recreated the masterpiece, and now, they were ready to claim the cosmos. The Ventrisi had abandoned it, but humanity had turned it into their destiny, and they would never look back. As the years passed, humanity's reach into the stars grew. The towering monument, the living artifact, became a symbol not just of what was left behind by the Ventrisi, but of the new age humanity had ushered in. It wasn't just a structure, it was a gateway to the future, a living testament to human willpower and imagination. The first human colonists set foot on distant planets, their ships guided by the map the Ventrisi had left behind. The map was more than just a star chart. It contained hidden data that unlocked faster than light travel, allowing humanity to expand its presence across the galaxy. The knowledge embedded in the artifact, combined with the ingenuity of Earth's best minds, gave rise to technologies that had once been nothing more than science fiction. Artificial intelligence became far more advanced. Quantum computing allowed for near-instantaneous data exchange across vast distances, and energy sources were harnessed from the very fabric of space. But as humanity began to spread, they encountered something unexpected. Other civilizations, once thought to be myths or long forgotten, began to emerge from the shadows of the galaxy. Some were peaceful, curious about these newcomers who had risen so rapidly. Others were far less friendly, races who had once stood in awe of the Ventrisi, now seeing humanity as an unpredictable force that might disrupt the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. One of these races was the Karath, a technologically advanced species that had once fought alongside the Ventrisi in an ancient war. The Karath had watched as humanity unlocked the secrets left behind, and they didn't like what they saw. They saw it as a threat to their dominance in the galaxy, and they were not about to let a fledgling species disrupt the status quo. The first encounter with the Karath came without warning. A fleet of sleek, black ships emerged from the darkness, their weapons primed and aimed at Earth. The artifact, now a symbol of humanity's power, pulsed with energy as it linked to the new fleet of human ships that had been designed around its principles. The time for diplomacy was over. A message was sent, a declaration from the humans who had rebuilt a masterpiece the Ventrisi had abandoned. A challenge from the new masters of the galaxy. "We are the heirs to the Ventrisi," the message read, displayed in glowing letters across the blackness of space. "We have not come to dominate, but to explore, to learn, and to grow. You can stand with us, or you can stand against us, but know this, we will not be intimidated." The Karath responded with immediate hostility, launching their attack with unrelenting fury. Yet, despite their technological superiority, the Karath were caught off guard. They underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and innovate in the heat of battle. The human fleet, augmented by the artifact's energy and guided by its advanced systems, fought back with a ferocity the Karath had not anticipated. The battle raged across the stars, the clash of civilizations echoing in the vastness of space. For the first time, humanity showed the galaxy that they were not to be taken lightly. They fought with the same relentless determination that had driven them to rebuild the artifact, to harness the power left behind, and to turn it into their own. The tide of the battle slowly began to turn in humanity's favor. The Karath, seeing their losses mounting, made a critical miscalculation. They underestimated the human will to survive. When the Karath flagship was destroyed, the remaining forces quickly retreated, leaving humanity with a hard-earned victory. The message was clear: humanity was here to stay. But the victory came at a cost. The battle with the Karath made it clear that not every civilization would welcome humanity's rapid rise. The Ventrisi may have abandoned the artifact, but they had not abandoned the knowledge it contained. As humanity's empire expanded, new dangers emerged from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Unknown forces watched with suspicion, preparing their own plans. Yet humanity's resolve was unshaken. They had inherited the legacy of the Ventrisi, but they would not be defined by it. They would write their own story in the stars, one not of domination or conquest, but of exploration, discovery, and ultimately, unity. The artifact, now integrated into every facet of human life, continued to serve as a reminder of the power of innovation and resilience. The galaxies that had once been distant and unreachable now seemed just within humanity's grasp. New colonies flourished on distant planets, their inhabitants living lives enriched by the technology that had once been a mystery. And so, humanity's journey into the cosmos continued. They had rebuilt the masterpiece that the aliens had abandoned. And in doing so, they had not only claimed their place among the stars, but had proven to the universe that there was no challenge too great, no mystery too deep, and no enemy too powerful for the human spirit. The Ventrisi had left behind a legacy, but it was humanity that would shape the future. And the universe would never be the same again. Humanity's journey into the unknown was no longer a quiet one. As they ventured deeper into the galaxy, they found themselves facing not only ancient threats but also the remnants of lost civilizations, each with its own mysteries. Every step forward was a step into the past, unearthing technologies and artifacts far older and more dangerous than anything the Ventrisi had left behind. The first of these discoveries came when a human expedition, led by Commander Asha, stumbled upon an enormous Dyson sphere orbiting a dying star. It was the work of a long-forgotten race, the Zinthari, a civilization whose rise and fall had taken place eons before the Ventrisi ever arrived on Earth. The Dyson sphere was unlike anything the Ventrisi had designed. It was a technological marvel, capable of harnessing the energy of an entire star. But it also had a dark secret hidden deep within its core. As the crew explored the sphere, they encountered systems that seemed to function autonomously, reacting to the presence of humans as if it had been waiting for them. The central hub of the sphere was a network of living machines, whose purpose had been forgotten by time. The deeper they ventured into the structure, the more unsettling it became. It was as if the very core of the sphere had been designed to test them, to challenge their resolve, just as the Ventrisi had once done. In the heart of the Dyson sphere, Commander Asha and her crew discovered a vast library of data, one that contained knowledge not only of the Zinthari but of the galactic forces that had existed before them, forces that had shaped the fate of the stars long before humanity had even begun to dream of space travel. And there, in the depths of this knowledge, was the warning they had feared. The warning wasn't just a threat to humanity, it was a threat to all sentient life. The Zinthari had built the Dyson sphere as a safeguard against an ancient and malevolent entity, a cosmic force that fed on the very fabric of space and time. The entity was called the Entropy, a being of pure destruction, capable of unraveling entire galaxies in its wake. It had been imprisoned long ago by the Zinthari and other ancient races, but the seal was weakening. The artifact the humans had discovered, the Ventrisi blueprint, was more than just a map, it was a key to a mechanism that could either reinforce the seal of the entropy or break it forever. This revelation sent shockwaves through the human fleet. For years, they had thought they were the masters of their destiny, but now they realized that they were part of a much larger, much darker narrative. The artifact, which had once been a symbol of their ascendancy, had a far greater purpose. It was the linchpin in a battle that spanned the ages, a battle between the forces of creation and destruction. Faced with this knowledge, Commander Asha made a decision that would define the future of humanity. They would not simply be explorers or conquerors. They would become the guardians of the galaxy. They would stand between the entropy and the rest of the universe, using the knowledge they had gained from the Ventrisi and the Zinthari to forge a new order, one that could protect the cosmos from this ancient threat. To do so, however, would require more than just technological prowess. It would require unity, a unity between humans, the alien races who had come to respect them, and even those who had once viewed them as adversaries. The Koroth, the Erythians, and others who had watched humanity's rise would now have to choose sides. They could either stand with humanity and face the entropy together or risk everything and allow the dark force to consume all life. Asha sent a message across the galaxy, not just to the allies humanity had made, but to every race that had once interacted with the Ventrisi, to every corner of the universe where sentient life had once existed. The message was simple but powerful. The universe stands at the precipice of destruction. We are the last line of defense. Will you stand with us? Or will you watch as everything falls into oblivion? The response was immediate. Some races, like the Erythians, came willingly, bringing their wisdom and their ancient technology to help bolster humanity's forces. Others, like the Koroth, grudgingly allied with them. Their military might now focused on a common enemy. And there were those who resisted, skeptics who believed humanity had no place in such a battle, who thought the entropy was an old legend, too improbable to matter. But the majority of the galaxy saw the truth. The entropy was not just a myth, it was a force that was already stirring. And so, humanity and its allies began to prepare, using every tool at their disposal to reinforce the seal that had held the entropy at bay for so long. It wasn't long before the first signs of the entropy's influence began to manifest. Stars flickered out, entire planets vanished, and the fabric of reality itself began to warp in the regions where the seal had weakened the most. Time began to fracture, and space twisted in ways that defied understanding. It was as if the universe itself was trying to collapse into nothingness. In a final act of desperation, humanity and its allies launched the largest, most ambitious project ever conceived, a network of powerful devices, scattered across the galaxy, designed to reinforce the ancient seals that bound the entropy. The devices were linked by a singular frequency, the frequency of the artifact, which resonated with the energy of the universe itself. As the final device was activated, the artifact began to glow brighter than it ever had before, its energy surging through the galaxy like a beacon. For a moment, it seemed as though the entire galaxy held its breath. And then, with a brilliant flash of light, the entropy's influence began to recede. The fractures in time and space healed, and the darkness that had threatened to consume everything was pushed back. But it was only temporary. The entropy had not been destroyed. It had simply been sealed once more. The artifact, the key to keeping it contained, had once again proven its power. However, the warning was clear: the seal would weaken again. The entropy would return. And humanity, now united with the galactic races who had stood beside them, knew that this was not the end. It was the beginning of an eternal struggle, a struggle that would define the fate of the stars. The galaxy had many mysteries yet to solve, and humanity had learned one undeniable truth: there was no end to the unknown. But as long as they stood together, with the legacy of the Ventrisi and the strength of their resolve, they would face whatever came next. The universe was vast, the victory, and its challenges
hard
were
won
many,
as it was,
but humanity
only marked
had
the
proven,
beginning of an
time
even
and
greater
time
journey
again,
for humanity
that they would never
and their
back down.
allies.
The entropy had been sealed away once more, but it was clear that the forces of destruction were far from vanquished. The universe, vast and incomprehensible, was teeming with hidden dangers, ancient forces that had slumbered for eons, awaiting the right moment to awaken. And humanity, having once unlocked the secrets of the Ventrisi, was now thrust into the role of guardians, protectors of the delicate balance of existence. In the aftermath of the battle, a new alliance emerged, one that stretched across the stars, a coalition of races bound by a shared goal: to prevent the entropy's return and to ensure that nothing like it would ever threaten the galaxy again. Humanity, once a solitary species on the verge of collapse, had become the cornerstone of this new order. The knowledge they had uncovered, both the ancient wisdom of the Ventrisi and the dark secrets of the Zinthari, made them uniquely equipped to lead. They had proven themselves not just capable, but essential to the survival of the galaxy. Yet, even as the galaxy began to heal, tensions simmered. Old rivalries that had been put aside in the face of a common enemy began to resurface. The Koroth, whose grudging alliance had helped turn the tide of the battle, now grew uneasy with humanity's growing influence. The Erythians, with their ancient wisdom, had already begun to prepare for the next phase of the struggle, but they were reluctant to place all their trust in the hands of the young, unpredictable humans. And there were those, still, who believed that the universe's mysteries were best left undisturbed, that humanity's meddling with the ancient powers could only lead to further catastrophe. In response, humanity's leaders began to gather representatives from across the galaxy to form the Council of the Infinite Reach, a galactic body designed to mediate disputes, share knowledge, and plan for the future. Asha, now a seasoned commander, was chosen to represent humanity's interests, her voice carrying the weight of the countless lives who had fought and died to bring the galaxy to this point. Her first challenge came when a group of human scientists, working alongside their Erythian counterparts, uncovered a new discovery: a signal emanating from the center of the galaxy, a signal that was not of natural origin. It was far older than anything humanity had encountered, older even than the Ventrisi. It spoke in a language of light, not words, but its message was unmistakable: we are waiting. The signal seemed to echo from the core of the galaxy, pulsing with an energy that was familiar and yet alien. The team of scientists immediately began to study the signal, and as they did, They realized that it was not a simple call, it was a beacon. Someone, or something, had sent it. As the council convened to discuss the implications, Asha felt the weight of history bearing down on her. The entropy was still a very real threat, and yet this new mystery, this signal, could be an even greater danger. The galaxy had been shaped by the forces that preceded them, but this was something different. It wasn't a warning from the past, it was a message from the future. The decision was made. A joint expedition would be launched to the center of the galaxy to investigate the source of the signal. Humanity's fleet would be at the forefront of this mission, leading the way into uncharted territory. Asha and her team would be among the first to embark on this journey, armed with the knowledge they had gathered and the resolve to face whatever lay ahead. As their ships neared the heart of the galaxy, the signal grew stronger, clearer, until it resonated throughout the fleet like a hum in the bones. The energy was palpable, filling the void of space with an eerie vibrancy. It was as if the very fabric of the galaxy was responding to their presence, guiding them closer to something immense, something beyond their comprehension. Finally, they reached it, at the center of the galaxy, where the stars were brightest and the void was deepest. They found it, a colossal structure, floating in space, ancient beyond measure. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen, an artifact that dwarfed even the Ventrisi's greatest works. It pulsed with an energy that seemed to stretch across space and time itself, a bridge between realms, between the past, present, and future. This was no relic of an ancient race. This was something alive, something that had been waiting for the right moment to awaken. The message, "We are waiting," had not been a signal to attract attention, it had been a call to those who could understand it, to humanity. As the crew approached the structure, the ship's systems began to malfunction, their instruments overwhelmed by the intense energy emanating from the core. For a moment, everything went silent, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, the structure spoke. It was not a voice, but a presence, a vast consciousness that extended through the fleet, into the minds of every crew member, every pilot, every captain. It was as though the very stars themselves had opened their eyes. The message it sent was not one of war or destruction, but of understanding, a knowledge that transcended the boundaries of species, a gift that could reshape the galaxy forever. "We have watched," the presence said, "we have waited. The time has come for the next evolution." The crew stood in awe, unable to comprehend what was unfolding. This entity, whatever it was, had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, had seen the birth of stars and the death of galaxies. And now, it was choosing humanity to be its next herald. The decision was clear: humanity, the species that had rebuilt what the Ventrisi had abandoned, was destined to lead the galaxy into a new age of knowledge, unity, and exploration. But as the message ended, another thought lingered, hanging in the air like a storm cloud. What did it mean to evolve? What price would humanity pay to unlock the next step in their existence? The crew knew that the journey ahead would not be without sacrifice. The galaxy, for all its beauty and mystery, was filled with dangers. The entropy was not the only threat that loomed in the darkness. And now, with this new force awakening, they would have to ask themselves, were they ready to lead? The galaxy had given humanity a gift, a chance to shape the future. But with this power came a responsibility greater than anything they had ever known. And as Asha gazed out at the massive structure before them, she understood one thing: humanity's destiny was no longer theirs alone to decide. The universe was waiting, and it had chosen them to guide it into a new era. But the cost of this evolution, this transformation, remained to be seen. And the stars, ever silent, seemed to whisper the answer: the journey is only just beginning. As the massive, ancient structure loomed before them, humanity and their allies stood on the precipice of an unknown future. The presence that had spoken to them, the consciousness that stretched across space and time, had left them with more questions than answers. They had been chosen. But chosen for what? Commander Asha stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring at the enigmatic structure that pulsed with energy. It was a living thing, ancient yet somehow present, aware of their arrival, as if it had been waiting for them for centuries. The message, cryptic as it was, had been clear: the next evolution. But what did it mean? Evolution of what? Humanity's mind? Their physical form? Or was it something far more profound, a change in their very relationship with the universe itself? Asha's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of her second-in-command, Captain Maris, who had been analyzing the structure's emissions. "Commander, we're picking up unprecedented energy readings. The structure isn't just radiating energy, it's transmitting it into the fleet. We're getting a direct connection from it. It's like it's interacting with us." Asha turned to face her officer, a mix of curiosity and trepidation crossing her face. "What kind of interaction? Are we receiving data? Or is it something more?" "It's more, Commander. It's like we're being restructured," Maris said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "The readings are beyond anything we've encountered. It's as though the structure is assessing us, every ship, every crew member. I'm getting neural fluctuations. This isn't just energy, it's communicating on a biological level." The implication was staggering. The entity, the one that had awakened from its long slumber, wasn't just offering knowledge, it was offering transformation. It wasn't merely observing. It was reaching into the very minds and bodies of humanity and their allies, unlocking potential they hadn't even known they possessed. The structure was a conduit, not just of knowledge, but of power, a transformative force that sought to shape those who came into contact with it. Asha turned to the rest of the bridge crew, her voice steady but filled with an urgency that mirrored the gravity of their situation. "Prepare for full integration. We need to understand what this entity wants from us, and what it expects in return. I want every ship to be ready to act as one. We're about to take a leap into the unknown." As the fleet prepared for the next phase of this unprecedented encounter, a sense of collective uncertainty filled the air. Even the alien races who had allied with humanity, Karath, Erythians, and others, felt the weight of the unknown pressing on them. The message had been clear: humanity had been chosen, but the cost of this evolution was yet to be revealed. Days passed, each one bringing them closer to understanding the true nature of the entity. The ships now hovered in an intricate formation around the structure, their systems synchronized in a way that transcended simple technological coordination. It felt as though they were no longer independent vessels, but parts of a larger whole. The entity's influence had begun to spread throughout the fleet, its energy like an invisible thread linking them together. And then, on the fourth day, the change began. It started slowly, imperceptibly at first. Asha woke to the sensation of something unfamiliar, something profound, in the air around her. It wasn't a physical presence, but a subtle shift in the way she perceived the universe. The stars outside her viewport no longer seemed distant, cold pinpricks of light. They were connected to each other and to her, vibrations in a vast, intricate web of existence. Her mind raced. Was this the beginning of their evolution? Was this how humanity would change? As she moved to the command console, her thoughts were sharp, more lucid than they had ever been. Her senses were heightened, her awareness of the vastness of space more acute than ever before. It was as if she could feel the pulse of the universe itself. The others on the bridge were experiencing the same thing. Each crew member, human or alien, seemed to be going through a personal transformation. They exchanged glances, eyes wide. Expressions changed, unable to speak, but understanding that they were all undergoing something that could not be explained in words. As Asha reached out to touch the console, she felt an overwhelming surge of energy course through her. And then, nothing. The universe seemed to disappear. For a brief moment, she was no longer in her body, no longer confined to the material realm. She was part of something far greater, a presence that stretched across the cosmos, connecting every star, every planet, every sentient life form in a web of consciousness. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the sensation faded, and Asha found herself back on the bridge, her body trembling with the intensity of what she had just experienced. The ship, too, had transformed. The once humdrum hum of machinery had been replaced by a new resonance, something alive, as though the ship itself had become a part of her. "Commander?" Maris' voice broke through, shaky with the same awe that filled the room. We've all felt it. The connection, the energy. It's like we're no longer separate. We're part of something much bigger." Asha nodded, still reeling from the experience. "Yes, I felt it too. The universe is speaking to us, not through words, but through the very fabric of existence. I think we've just begun to understand what the structure was trying to do. This was the evolution, not of our bodies, but of our consciousness." As she spoke, the same transformation was taking place across the fleet. Alien ships, once cold and mechanical, now pulsed with the same energy as humanity's. The minds of the different races were now linked, as though a bridge had been built between them, a bridge that allowed them to experience the universe not as individuals, but as part of an interconnected whole. But as the transformation continued, Asha couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was still wrong. The entity, the force behind the structure, had chosen them, but for what purpose? Was this evolution a gift or a curse? Was it leading them to the next stage of their existence, or was it setting them up for something far darker? Her thoughts were interrupted by a communication from the rest of the fleet. The message was urgent and disjointed. Commander, the structure is reacting. We are. And then, the transmission cut out, replaced by an eerie silence. Asha's heart skipped a beat. Something had gone wrong. Whatever this entity was, it had begun to awaken on a level far beyond their understanding. This transformation, this evolution, was it truly something to be embraced, or something that could consume them? The silence on the bridge was deafening as the crew turned to her, eyes filled with fear and uncertainty. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the moment of choice, and as they all stood together, united in their newfound connection to the universe, Asha realized that the true test had only just begun. Humanity had been chosen, but they still had no idea what price they would have to pay for that choice. The universe was vast and mysterious, and they had only begun to scratch the surface. And whatever came next, it would shape the fate of all sentient life. The next evolution was not just about power, it was about understanding what it meant to be truly connected, to everything, to everyone, and to that which lay hidden in the deepest reaches of space. The eerie silence that had descended across the fleet was shattered by a sudden, blinding flash. A surge of energy unlike anything humanity had ever experienced shot out from the ancient structure at the center of the galaxy, enveloping the ships in a wave of light so intense that it seemed to tear at the very fabric of reality itself. The bridge crew, and all those across the fleet, staggered under the weight of the blast, their senses overwhelmed by a burst of cosmic power that reverberated through their very souls. Asha gripped the command console, her mind racing. The transformation, the connection, everything they had experienced so far, it was accelerating, spiraling out of control. Whatever the entity was, it was no longer content to simply guide them into the unknown. It was pushing them, urging them forward at a pace far beyond what they could comprehend. Report, Asha snapped, her voice cutting through the chaos. She needed answers, needed to know what was happening before it was too late. Maris, who had managed to regain control of her station, spoke quickly, her voice tight with urgency. Commander, the energy is destabilizing. The entire fleet is being pulled toward the structure. We're losing control of our trajectory. Asha's heart clenched. The fleet, once so meticulously coordinated, was now at the mercy of forces far beyond their understanding. The strange, unearthly connection they had felt earlier was now like a magnetic force, drawing them ever closer to the heart of the galaxy, to the structure at its core. Activate all emergency protocols, Asha ordered. Prepare for an emergency jump to a safe distance, now. But before any of her officers could respond, the entire fleet lurched violently, as though the very fabric of space had been ripped apart. The stars around them twisted into strange, unrecognizable shapes, and time itself seemed to warp and bend. For a brief, terrifying moment, it felt as though the universe itself was unraveling. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the chaos stopped. The fleet was motionless, suspended in a void of endless possibility, no longer moving toward the structure, yet not entirely in the same place they had been moments before. A sense of profound stillness settled over them, a silence that felt unnatural and all-encompassing. Asha looked out at the viewports, her eyes wide with disbelief. The stars had shifted. The galaxy seemed different, as if the very fabric of space had been torn and stitched back together in a new pattern. The ancient structure still loomed in the distance, but now it felt distant. Its pulse was weaker, its presence less immediate, yet still powerful, still watching. Maris turned to Asha, her face pale. Commander, we've been transported. The fleet is no longer where it was. We're somewhere else. Somewhere else? Asha echoed. What does that mean? Where are we? I don't know, Maris said. shaking her head. It's as if the structure has changed the very nature of our existence. We're outside the known boundaries of the galaxy. There are no stars, no familiar constellations. It's like we've crossed into another dimension. Asha felt a wave of dread wash over her. They were no longer in their own galaxy, not even in a place they could recognize. The structure, the entity behind it, had done this. It had transported them somewhere else, somewhere beyond the reach of any civilization they knew, into a realm that was simultaneously familiar and alien. We're completely alone, Asha murmured, her thoughts racing. This wasn't just a transformation of our minds. It was a shift in our very existence. The structure didn't just evolve us, it transported us, moving us out of the galaxy and into a place we can't comprehend. Her mind was reeling with the implications. If the fleet had been moved to an entirely new space, then the entity had not just altered their consciousness, it had reshaped their very reality. And with that shift came a terrifying realization: they might be stuck here, in a place where no one could reach them, no way back to their home or their allies. Suddenly, a new signal pulsed through the fleet, a deep, resonant hum that echoed in their minds. It wasn't a message, but a presence, the same awareness that had spoken to them before, now more intense, more omnipresent than ever. The voice, not a voice at all but an overwhelming thought, entered Asha's mind. You are the chosen. You are the first to cross the threshold. The next evolution begins here. Asha's heart hammered in her chest as the message unfolded in her mind. The entity, or whatever it was, had moved them. The next evolution was not just about consciousness, it was about space and time itself. They were the first to breach the boundaries of their galaxy, the first to enter this new, unknowable realm. This wasn't just a test of their minds or bodies. It was a test of their very existence. They had crossed the threshold into something new, something vast and infinite. But at what cost? Commander, I don't think we can leave, Maris said, her voice strained as she stared at the readouts on her console. The energy signatures, they're not just from the structure, they're coming from everywhere, from the very fabric of this place. We're surrounded by something alive. Asha's eyes darted around the bridge, her mind reeling. She could feel it now too. The very air in the command center seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy. The presence in her mind was everywhere, as if the structure itself had expanded to fill the void around them. This wasn't just a ship floating in space anymore. It was part of a larger system, a web of consciousness that stretched beyond the material world. The crew members were silent, their faces etched with fear, awe, and confusion. They were not alone. They had never been alone. Whatever this entity was, it had connected them to something far greater than they had ever imagined. Commander, said an officer from the science deck, breaking the silence, we've detected strange phenomena. Stars are shifting positions, some are disappearing, others are flickering in and out of existence. It's as if the very laws of physics are being rewritten around us. Asha's breath caught in her throat. Is this part of the transformation? Is it trying to change everything we know? The officer nodded grimly. Yes, the fabric of reality here is unstable, fluctuating in ways we can't predict. We're in a state of flux. As Asha processed this, the message from the entity reverberated in her mind again. You are the first to cross the threshold. The next evolution begins here. Asha felt a cold shiver run down her spine. This was not just a journey to a distant corner of space. It was a journey to something more fundamental, a new beginning, a new reality, and they were the ones chosen to lead it. But the cost of this evolution, this transformation, was still unclear. The price of unlocking the next stage of existence could be far steeper than they ever anticipated. The galaxy they had once known seemed like a distant memory now, one that might never be seen again. Humanity had crossed the threshold, and now, there was no going back. The future, and the fate of the universe itself, lay in their hands. And as the light from the ancient structure pulsed again, brighter and stronger, Asha realized that the true test was just beginning. The universe had evolved, and now, it was up to humanity to decide how they would shape the next age of existence.